Let's take a look at the Halfen anchor channel by Ancon. Channel's going to be available in many sizes. In this particular case, we're running 3 here, 3 typical sizes. They will be available also in different finishes. Let's take a closer look at the channel and describe some of the key components. I'll use this one. So the channel will be made up of funny enough, a channel section, headed studs at intervals, placed along an interval of, in this case, 150 millimeters, 250 millimeters, etc. Additionally, we'll be equipped with a foam profile inside the channel to prevent the ingress of concrete during the concrete pour, which we can later then strip out and give us access to the channel to fit our hardware, our T-bolts. Now, all of the channel available in the market, the Halfen product included, comes with proprietary T-bolts. It is a system, so it is imperative that the product be used with the matching T-bolt. The product information available from the supplier will detail which of the T-bolts in the range is compatible with the channel. So the T-bolt use in the channel, we'll take a little bit of a closer look at that in our panel. So the first thing to do when we are looking at doing a channel install, obviously this is an engineered system. It will be designed according to the size of channel, the capacities required, so the headed stud length, etc. will all be critical in achieving a good performance outcome. We must be sure that we match up the channel and identify that it's what has been called up in the drawings, the specifications, the project documentation. Make sure that the instructions for the product are readily at hand, and critically, make sure that we understand and have good detail about the location of the channel in the formwork, where it needs to be placed in the formwork. We don't get a second chance to adjust the position of the channel once our concrete's poured, so this is a critical measurement to take prior to the pour. Before we place the channel section in the concrete or in the formwork ready for concrete, have a very good look at the foam section, check that it's whole, that it's integral, it's continuous from end to end. This is what's going to prevent the concrete getting into our channel and interfering with the cooperation of the T-bolt in the channel. Lastly, there may be a requirement as designed by the specifier for supplementary reinforcement to be used. So make sure that that's been checked and apply the supplementary reo as per the details. Let's take a look at the items required for channel installation. So firstly, obviously, the channel in accordance with the specification documents, obviously fitted with foam, correctly placed. Make sure we have our instructions for use available so that we know exactly what's required of us there. We will need tape measure for measuring out our channel into our formwork, nails to position our product for far face applications, that's fixing to timber form, and a hammer for driving. In terms of that far face installation, ideally we want to be placing the channel prior to reinforcement installation into the panel or into the concrete element. It just gives us a lot more room to work with and get our positioning correct. But effectively it's placing the channel in the correct position in the form, nails in through the nail holes provided in the channel section, and fix it down into the formwork. A very simple application. In terms of near face installation, it can be somewhat challenging, so we need to look at this fairly carefully. So firstly, if we're doing a near face install with surface mount, so that is where we want the channel flush with the surface of the concrete, we can either suspend it on a template on a timber board that is spaced off the top of the form. So we actually suspend it off the top of the formwork and suspend it, carry it off that form to give us the right level. Additionally, we could make use of, in this case, proprietary fitments which are called the Chan clip. So the Chan clip is available to cooperate with the channel. So it simply presses into the channel, into the nail holes. I'll just press that in. And then effectively what we do, we run reinforcement bar through the holes at the required position within the chan clip here, and rest it on top of the top face reinforcement in the panel. Now, obviously the different positions will adjust our height of the channel in the formwork, and that's another great way to actually mount the channel in the formwork at the right height, tie through the holes or over the chan clip to fix it to the reinforcement in the panel at correct height. Now, one of the key things that we have to get right for cast-in items, we did mention they are far less sensitive to installation than some post-installed anchor cases. The one thing we do have to get right, apart from position of the product in the formwork and hence in the finished product, is concrete placement. So we need to take special care with compaction and vibration, and that's to make sure that we adequately compact the concrete around the channel and especially around the feet of the anchorages. This will give us maximum capacity. Optimally, we also want to make sure that once we strip the formwork, we want to make sure that the channel ends up flush with the concrete surface. So any scenarios where the product is disturbed prior to concrete placement or during concrete placement, say being hit with a vibrator, for example, a poker vibrator, if our channel gets hit and gets knocked out of alignment, we can have a problem with coupling up with T-bolts and getting an adequate fix. One of the critical things with channel is do not wet adjust the position of the channel once in concrete. So if we place this in wet concrete and the channel is sitting up proud at one end, what we don't want to do is push the channel down with our foot without recompacting the concrete around the foot of the anchor. What that will do, if we do not recompact, it will leave a void around the foot of the channel and will lead to a reduction in performance. Now that we've taken a look at install cases for far face and near face and described those for the installation of channel, we're going to do an install in the edge form. So in this particular case, we've got the cage pre-built and in place, and normally it would be ideal for us to do the install of the channel without the cage in place. Give us a little bit more freedom, a little bit more room to manoeuvre. In this case, we're only installing a short 300mm. So let's position that. Before we do, we really should do that check and make sure that our positioning's correct. Check the measurements. We only get one chance to check the measurements. So in this case, we want to check a length at 80mm, and we have a 300mm channel length centered in a 1200 box. So we need a 450 edge distance as a guide, 450 each way, and there we have it over on this marker here. All right, so now that we've established that our measurements are correct, we can go ahead with the install. So this channel is equipped with nail holes in these positions, and we'll be using a 40mm clout. It's a 22mm thick channel, 40mm clout, nice big head so it doesn't pull through the holes, and we'll mount that into the side form. So let's line it up with one of our edge marks. First clout, we'll come across, get our next position, edge mark lined up. And there's our nails in position. So our channel's now fixed in place. Obviously, before we go and do the pour, we want to make sure that we've met any supplementary reinforcement requirements. And additionally, it would be worthwhile checking prior to pour that the product hasn't been moved by foot trafficking on the Rio or any other disturbance to make sure it's still in place. And that's our edge form fixed channel. What we'll do now, we'll move over to the concrete element that we've placed a couple of days ago, and we'll take a look at the post-pour operations to get access to our channel, strip the foam, check the appropriate T-bolt for use, get that T-bolt oriented correctly, and then place a fixture. So we've still got the edge form here in place. We'll just strip this off. Obviously our panel's been curing for a couple of days. We'll just strip that side form off. So there it is. Let's have a look at our Halfen channel as it presents to us in the side form of that panel. So obviously our channel has not moved after we did the concrete pour, so where we placed it is where it stayed. It is perfectly flush with the concrete surface, which is great. Only other thing to be aware of when working with channel that's nailed into form is that we've now exposed those nails, so just be careful about those while we're working in and around the job. What we'll do now is we will, having confirmed the channel is appropriately flush level with the concrete surface, we will now remove the strip, the foam strip, the protection strip that prevents the ingress of concrete into the channel during the pour. So to do that, we're just getting behind it with a large screwdriver, get into the back of it, being mindful of the nails. Let's pull that out, strip that out. Let's come around that nail so that we can work a little bit more freely. What I might do, just so that we can get access to that foam a little easier, is I'll knock that nail in, out of our way, back away from where we're going to be placing the fixture, so that we don't run the risk of an injury as well. Working our way along the section, we can strip out that foam and it pops out. So now we have revealed to us the channel section. Let's just take care of that second nail so that we don't have any stick injuries. All right. Channel's available to us. What we now do before we make use of the channel, this consideration of coordinating trades comes into play here. So we've expected that a precaster has delivered to us a certain channel in accordance with the drawing, and we're going to be using the matching T-bolt, the corresponding T-bolt suited to this channel. It's another good time here to actually check. You see some identification information inside the channel in the back there. Check that this is indeed the correct size channel and confirm that the appropriate T-bolts are available for it. Let's take a look now at how we interact with the channel with the T-bolts. So taking the correctly specified T-bolts, place it in through the channel opening and rotate through 90 degrees. We'll get our second one. We have a little base plate made up, which is actually a two-hole base plate. So rotating through 90 degrees will give us the correct orientation. Now, how we assess that the T-bolt is in the correct orientation, that is engaged correctly with the channel. We look for the marking and indent in the head of the T-bolt. That should be perpendicular to the axis of the channel. So in this case, with a horizontal channel, we have a vertical indentation in the head of the T-bolt. So now it's simply a matter of coming in with our fixture plate, mounting over the channel. We'll apply appropriate sized washers and our nuts. Now obviously we are not sighted to the T-bolt, the back of the T-bolt now, so we must rely on the marker on the front, this indentation, to tell us that the T-bolt is still correctly engaged in the concrete, in the channel. Let's do those up. And there we have it. That's the first check before we go and torque up the nuts. Check that the indentations are both vertical or at least perpendicular to the channel, which they are. We take our torque wrench, set to the appropriate value, and apply torque carefully and consistent with the specified value. That's the installation of the Halfen channel.